I guess the offices starting with O in the UK have a lot of negative at the moment, because according to the Office for Budget Responsibility, the OBR, the UK's flagship Trans-Pacific trade deal, the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, the famous CPTPP, will deliver even less benefit to the economy than the tiny uplift that was previously predicted. The OBR estimates that the deal will only boost GDP by 0.04% in the long run after 15 years, and this is significantly lower than the government's previous estimate of 0.1%. The OBR's report also found that the deal is unlikely to have a significant impact on trade. It estimates that the UK's export to the CPTPP countries will increase by just 0.1% by 2035, and this is a much smaller increase than the government had hoped for. The OBR's findings are likely to be a major blow to the government, which has been touting the CPTPP as a key part of its post-Brexit trade strategy. The deal was seen as a way to diversify the UK's trade and reduce its reliance on the EU. However, the OBR's report suggests that the deal will have a very limited impact on the UK economy. The OBR, an independent fiscal watchdog, said that joining the CPTPP could add just those 0.04% to the GDP in the long run. That means those 15 years. And the government always praised it as such a big gain. But the OBR also said that the UK's economy will be 4% smaller than if it had stayed in the European Union. And this is due to a combination of factors, including the loss of tariff-free access to the EU market and the negative impact of Brexit on business confidence. As you know, the government has been touting the CPTPP as a major post-Brexit trade deal that will boost the UK's economy, and I remember all the Brexiteer comments. But the OBR's report suggests that the benefits of the deal will be much smaller than previously thought. The CPTPP is a trade agreement between 11 countries in the Asia-Pacific region. It is the world's third largest trade bloc after the European Union and the North America Free Trade Agreement, the NAFTA. The deal aims to reduce tariffs and other barriers to trade between their member countries. The UK applied to join the CPTPP in February 2021, and negotiations were concluded in March 23, and the UK formally signed the agreement in July 23. And the deal is expected to come into effect in 2024. The OBR's estimates are based on a number of factors, including the size of the UK economy, the level of trade between the UK and CPTPP member countries, and the potential impact of the deal on tariffs and other barriers of trade. The OBR's estimates are likely to be subject to revision as the deal is implemented, of course. However, they provide a more realistic assessment of the potential impact of the CPTPP on the UK economy than the government's previous predictions. The OBR's report has been met with mixed reactions from businesses and politicians. Some businesses have welcomed the deal, saying that it will give them access to new markets and help them to grow. However, others have expressed concern about the deal's impact on jobs and wages. Politicians have also been divided on the deal. The government has defended the deal, saying that it is a positive step towards a more global Britain. However, opposition politicians have criticized the deal, saying that it will do little to boost the economy and that it could lead to job losses. As I said, the CPTPP is a trade agreement between 11 countries in the Pacific Rim, and the UK has already formally signed the agreement, but it has not yet been ratified by all of the member countries. That's why it's not in place yet. The CPTPP is a free trade agreement between Australia, Brunei, Darussalam, Canada, Chile, Japan, Malaysia, Mexico, Peru, New Zealand, Singapore, and Vietnam. And now the UK has signed 2. And each of the existing member nations will need to ratify the UK's addition to the partnership before it takes effect. And the OBR's report is likely to fuel criticism of the government's handling of Brexit. Labour's Shadow Chancellor Rachel Reeves said that the report was further evidence of the damage that Brexit has done to the UK economy. The government has defended the CPTPP, saying that it is an important deal that will open up new markets for UK businesses. But the OBR report suggests that the benefits of the deal will be very, very limited. Despite the OBR's report, the government is still committed to the CPTPP. It is hoped that the deal will come into force in 2024, as I said, but the deal still needs to be ratified by all the other member countries, so that's why we cannot say that. And it remains to be seen what the long-term impact of the CPTPP will be on the UK economy. But I seriously am tending to follow the OBR more than this government with a significant impact on growth or trade. Brexiteers promised that joining the Comprehensive and Progressive Trans-Pacific Partnership would be a major economic benefit for the UK, providing access to new markets and opportunities for trade. And they always argued that the CPTPP would boost trade and investment, that the CPTPP is a high standards trade agreement that would open up new markets for UK businesses and attract foreign investment. And they always said that it would reduce tariffs. The CPTPP would eliminate tariffs on a wide range of goods and services, making it cheaper for UK businesses to export to CPTPP member countries. And they always promised to strengthen the UK's global position. Joining the CPTPP would send a signal that the UK is open for business and committed to free trade. However, these promises have been largely unfulfilled. The UK's accession to the CPTPP has not had a significant impact on the UK economy, and it will not have. And trade with the CPTPP member countries will only grow modestly, and foreign investment in the UK has really fallen since Brexit. To make that up, it will be a lot of work. And there are a number of reasons why the UK's CPTPP membership will not be as successful as the Brexiteers had hoped. First, the UK is already a member of the World Trade Organization, the WTO, which provides access to a much larger market than the CPTPP. And second, this is a high standards trade agreement, which means that UK businesses must meet strict regulations in order to export to CPTPP member countries. And this can be a significant hurdle for some businesses. And third, the UK has lost its privileged access to the EU market, which was a major source of trade for the UK before Brexit. And the whole thing means that the UK's CPTPP membership will not be the economic panacea that Brexiteers had promised. The UK is still struggling to adjust to life outside the EU, and the CPTPP is unlikely to provide a fix here. But Brexiteers anyway made a number of promises about trade deals in general after Brexit. The UK would be able to strike new trade deals with countries around the world, including the United States, Japan, and Australia. And this was based on the idea that the UK would be free from the constraints of EU trade policy and would be able to negotiate more advantageous deals. And they said the UK would be able to go it alone in trade negotiations and would not be bound by the EU's lowest common denominator approach. This was seen as an opportunity to secure deals that were more tailored to the UK's specific needs. And the UK would be able to take back control of its trade policy and would no longer be subject to the decisions of Brussels. And this was seen as a way to restore British sovereignty and independence. Yeah, they never understood the EU. These promises have also not fully realized. The UK has negotiated a number of trade deals since Brexit, but these deals have not been as advantageous as some Brexiteers had hoped. For example, the UK's trade deal with the EU is far worse than what they had before as a member in the EU, of course. And the UK has found it more difficult to negotiate trade deals with other countries, far more difficult than they had expected. This is because many countries are reluctant to negotiate with the UK until they really know what the UK's long-term trade policy will be. And the UK's trade position has been weakened since Brexit. The UK's share of global trade has fallen, and the UK is now more reliant on trade with the EU than it was before Brexit. As a member of the EU, the UK enjoyed frictionless trade within the single market, with no tariffs or barriers to trade with other EU member states. But following Brexit, These benefits have been lost, and businesses now face additional paperwork, customs checks, and potential tariffs when trading with the EU, increasing costs and reducing competitiveness. As a single member state, the UK has now, or not a member state anymore, they have less bargaining power in international trade negotiations compared to the EU because they represent a combined market of over 450 million consumers. And this reduced leverage can lead to less favorable terms in trade deals, hindering the UK's ability to access new markets and secure those advantageous trade arrangements. We've seen this with Japan, we've seen this with Australia, with New Zealand. Look at the deals when the EU makes them with the same people. And we don't want to talk about the big promised USA deal. The Brexiteers always promise that it finally can happen. The USA are not even interested in it. And I talked about it so much that I will not go into those details. But the ongoing process of the UK's trade relationship with the US created uncertainty and disruption for businesses, and that leads to delays, increased costs, and reduced investment. And they have not found anything to offset the losses caused by Brexit. And they will not find something to offset this. Kicking your main trading partner cannot be offset anyway. If you want to see something else, the next video is right here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.